The champions are in the building. The Florida Panthers. I mean, let's be real. What other news did you think we were starting with? Oh, yeah, maybe an intro, I guess.
Yeah.
Welcome. If this podcast is under review, I'm Ryan Pulser on one end. I'm joined alongside by my good friend and co-host.
I'm Liam Green.
And we have more hockey to discuss than just the Stanley Cup Finals, which I can't say I really would have predicted going into it, but
Yeah.
I think we got to start where, because the last time we spoke to you guys, the third round had not really begun yet, so there's been a lot,
Yeah.
to put it very, very generously. But we're not going to waste time with the third round. We don't care.
No, who does?
Should have made it to the finals, guys.
Yeah.
But the Florida Panthers, for the first time in history, Stanley Cup champions. And there was nothing concerning about that series. There was no worry. It was just easy all the way. No one stressed about anything. Very uninteresting. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Uh,
I think it was sort of an uninteresting series. I mean, they got 4 wins, did they not?
they did. It was a little scary. It's funny trying to look back at this series retroactively because a lot happened, and there's some people who are like, well, they won, so it was an overreaction. No, it was completely the right reaction. But Florida just kind of decided to play hockey again, to be honest. They kind of lost it. I mean, one of the games was close, but I mean, there was also a couple games where they got killed.
Yeah.
And I mean, the difference came down to in the last couple games, Draisaitl was not very potent, and McDavid, especially in Game 7, was kind of ineffective.
Mm.
Like, I saw somebody say he was invisible, and I don't think that's true. I saw him a ton.
I don't think so. I think the last few minutes he was stapled to the ice practically.
But he almost tried to do a little bit too much.
Hmm.
And I mean, the injuries have come out, and we knew there were going to be a ton of them. Like, that's hockey. That's the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I don't know if they really started feeling it late in the series, but McDavid tried to do a lot of things, and he just didn't really. He got some opportunities and some chances, but compared to Connor McDavid, he felt very, very stoppable, very human in the last couple games of that series, and that was the difference. I mean, I hate to tell it to you, when Matthias Janmark and Cody Ceci are the only guys that record points, you're in trouble. That's not good. Then you factor in the guys that they had on the team that didn't record points, and it all kind of comes together.
It was a very long pause. Yeah, I mean, Cats, good job. Some people might say that's not how they expected it to go down. I think it's still, well, it's obviously fresh in everyone's minds. It happened the other night.
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yesterday as we're recording this. Other night as you're seeing this.
Yeah. So it's still fresh, and the win. I mean, it's your first cup, right? And against the Oilers, it'll be the Oilers' first cup in however many years. But if you seem to recall, there's St. Louis Blues legend who was on the Oilers named Wayne Gretzky.
I don't know if that's how you had to do this, but okay.
Yeah. So my point being, they were dominant before, and Panthers were always sort of stuck in the cusp. They were trying and trying and trying, and then they finally broke through the last couple of years. And I think this is the hard work that Paul Maurice has put into his team. I think this is the result that happened. Yes, it was scary. At what point do you not doubt yourself when you go up 3-0 in the first 3 games, and then Oilers come back to push it to 7? At what point, I think the doubt sort of starts to creep in when something as monumental as that happens. but no one can take it away from you, Cats. You got the cup. Good on ya. Here's to many more in your future, hopefully.
Also, like, when you think about where this team was like a few years ago, the turnaround is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so much to this team. One of the other interesting points that I will say is it is now back-to-back years where a $10 million player has won the Stanley Cup. Because that was the narrative for so long is, oh, you can't win with a $10 million player. You just can't do it. It's impossible. Well, now we've done it twice in a row. So I'm definitely ready to put. I mean, I was ready to put that narrative to bed pretty much immediately, to be honest with you. But
Mm-hmm.
like, there's so many little stories in this series. That's one of them. The fact that Kachuk got to beat Edmonton is one of them, and he kind of told that story himself,
And then,
saying he
yeah,
wasn't going to let them
I
lose.
was gonna say, and then drop one of the hardest quotes of all time from.
Man, that Florida team is, especially like that parade. There's going to be some crazy all-time quotes, I think.
Oh, big time.
Those boys are loving it. I mean, Maurice had some great classy quotes.
That's
I don't think I've ever seen a guy win a Stanley Cup and go, man, I hope another team wins it next year.
Yeah, no, I that was surprising, but utmost of class for Paul Maurice. Like, yeah.
Roberto Luongo is a Stanley Cup champion,
That is true.
which is, something that you obviously expected.
I mean, you would think, right? His historic career, now sitting at, is it third most winningest, fourth most winningest goaltender of all time?
I would have to look it up.
Because now it's Brodeur. Well, he's gonna stay first. Fleury, he plays for one more season, and then I think it's Oh, that might be Roberto at number. No, he passed Wah. So now Wah's number 3, which I think would make Luongo number 4. If my math is right, kind of, sorta.
You are correct.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, Brodeur has a few. Fleury has 3, and Wah has a few. So Luongo was the only one to not. And so you got to be happy for him. And I'm also, as I mentioned, Paul Maurice. I'm very happy for him. Like 1,800 games plus in the NHL. Been a coach for well over a couple decades.
Underrated name in that conversation, Kyle Okposo.
Mm-hmm.
That guy has been through the ringer, man. Like there was points where I wasn't sure that guy was going to skate again, and comes back, gets traded for a 7th-round pick, comes in Game 7, like, let's go, man. Like, you're back in the lineup. All the marbles are down. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say he had a crazy game that helped them win the cup, but he was on the ice and he played in Game 7 when his team won the Stanley Cup. That's enough.
Yeah.
Also, Corey Perry lost again, which is funny.
I really thought this was going to be the year he broke through again, but
yeah, four final losses in 5 years on different teams is
that's wild.
Maybe one of the craziest statistics you'll ever see.
Yeah, that's following him everywhere he goes.
And I was saying, because I was downtown with a couple friends watching the game, I have no sympathy with him because as a Penguins fan, I'm still a little bitter at Marian Hossa. Like, it worked out, don't get me wrong, but like I remember Marian Hossa pulling that stuff. I remember it. So I'm alright. Don't get me wrong. Marian Hossa doesn't really have anything to do with Corey Perry, but keep going to teams that are supposed to win the cup and just keep losing. See what happens. You're not Kevin Durant. You can't do it. That's right. I know just enough about basketball to make fun of Kevin Durant.
Kevin Kevin Durant.
That's called range, folks.
Range, yeah.
This Stanley Cup, what players on the Florida Panthers does it change the career trajectory for the most?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think Okposo is probably sitting high up there, just as you mentioned. Let's see. I think Aaron Ekblad. I mean, drafted fairly high. Was he? Yes, he was number one
First
overall.
overall.
Yeah, first overall in 2014. I think it just adds to the confidence, right? Because if you ever get drafted first overall, you're sort of expected to be great. And that has remained true for plenty of first overall drafts, but not all of them. Um, so I think Ekblad's, and I believe he's quite long tenured with Florida as well. I believe he was drafted. Yeah, he was drafted by them
Yeah.
in 2014. So what? That's 10 years.
He's been in the organization for 10 years
The
now. Yeah.
organization for 10 years. Yep. Highest paid defenseman on the team. At 7.5 million for his cap hit. I think I think it just reinforces that he's stuck with this team long term, and it's paid off. Another name I think could be thrown in there is Ekman Larson. Uh, I
Interesting pick.
I say that because he's sort of had maybe a rockier career than he might have liked in the past little while. If I take a look at this, yeah. So the Coyotes, he was with. I don't believe he got bought out, but was then traded to Vancouver, and then bought out from Vancouver to Florida, if I'm remembering correctly.
Correct.
Yeah, I think he's sitting at not a crazy number. He is a UFA, I will say, but I think he's had sort of an up and down career. It sucks getting bought out. I'd imagine, right?
I mean, that's free money. And then you go sign somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's worse deals. Yeah, he's a weird trajectory player.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was so good for a few years, and then it just all kind of fell apart, which is unfortunate for him. What, a little over $2 million Stanley Cup champ. I can't see him getting much more than what he's making now, to be honest with you.
No.
If you pay him 3 even on a 1-year deal, I think that's kind of a mistake. But there's a Stanley Cup tax.
Yeah, and I mean, once you win the cup, it obviously comes with the price tag, as you know. I mean, we got to talk about him, Officer Bob. I think this reinforces his confidence tenfold.
Oh, I think we're beyond even having that conversation.
Yeah.
I think the question now, and I've seen it going on a little bit online, is Sergei Bobrovsky today a Hall of Famer? I think that's where this conversation's at.
I think you could make a case. Obviously, he's still. Well, I see he's at 35. I believe that's on the cusp of the right side of the 30s. But like the way he's playing now, it makes him seem like he's like fresh-faced 18-year-old just drafted. The way he's been playing has been out of his mind. And obviously goalies are a different breed than most hockey players. I think everyone can sort of agree to that, but I think he could make a legitimate case for a Hall of Famer. Maybe not first ballot, I'd say. I know that the 2024 class did just emerge, or names were announced.
I do have that. We'll get to that at some point.
Yeah, we'll get to that at some point. But I think he could make a case for getting in there if and when he retires. I think a more interesting question is, does he now stay with Florida 1,000% and keep going? I mean, he does have a 2-year deal. I'm seeing has a $10 million cap hit until 2027. Yeah, 2027. Then he's a UFA. So does he stay with the team long term?
I mean, he's finishing up the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that part's pretty inevitable. Unless, like, the conversation is like, who else is the guy? Do you think Stollarts is a starting goalie? Probably not. The big question is what happens with Spencer Knight? That's still very much a mystery. He's only 23 years old. Like, there's still time for this kid. But it hasn't exactly gone the way that he and the team had hoped, although his numbers aren't actually that bad. He probably is an NHL goaltender today, but I think at least for the duration of the deal you're running with him, I don't think that's even a question. If you move on from him, I I would simply have to ask what better is out there that you need that isn't him. After that, that's a few years from now. We'll see how he plays. But the guy has been pretty much lights out when you've needed him. You can't ask for much more than that. A deal that, don't forget, looked like one of the worst in the league the first couple of years it was there. And all of a sudden, not such a thing anymore. Also, to add to the Hall of Fame case, he is 14th all-time in NHL wins.
He's 14th of all time?
14th.
Ooh.
Ahead of Jonathan Quick, Brian Miller, and Dominic Hasek.
Oh.
Next year, he will almost certainly pass, Tony Esposito, Glenn Hall, Grant Fuhr, and Chris Osgood if he plays a full season and the team is good.
And there's a question, will he play a full season? Because I seem to recall he was struggling in this early season. Is that ringing a bell for you as well?
Performance-wise or health-wise?
Performance-wise.
I don't think it was anything where you were worried about, his long-term thing as a starter. I think he had a little bit of a rut for a bit, and, Stollarts was pretty good this year, so it was kind of if he's going to be mid, we do have a good backup goalie we can put in while he kind of figures it out, sort of thing.
Right.
But, I would be hard-pressed for him not to be the starter at the end of next year, health aside.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that changes. But yeah, I kind of went into this conversation thinking, no, he's not a Hall of Famer. Now that I'm looking at the list of guys that have more wins than him, man, that's a tough list. That's a tough list to say he's not a Hall of Famer.
Again, I will say I don't think first ballot.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think his name will be first, but I think he could make a case for when he retires.
Yeah, I'll be interested. I definitely think there's a shot here. People are also asking about Barkov. I still think that's too early. I'm not there with Barkov yet.
Yeah, no, I think he's still. He's locked up for 6 more years at $10 million.
Oh, he's worth the money, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just not willing to throw him in the Hall of Fame right now. He's got 1 Selke and he's under a point per game so far. I just need more. He might be the Hall of Very Good. Hall of Worth, the 2nd overall pick he was taken with. Not a Hall of Fame.
No. Another thing I think worth mentioning with this Florida team is the amount of UFAs they're currently sitting at with $20 million in cap space. I think that's adjusted for the new cap hit of $88 million.
I would assume if you're going off of Capfriendly, then it would be.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Because rest in peace. So I'm looking at these names. Let's see: Anton Lundell, Nick Cousins, Ryan Lomberg, Steven Lorentz, Kyle Okposo, Sam Reinhart, Vladimir Tarasenko, Stenlund. We also got Ekman Larson, Kulikov, and Montour. Also with Stolars being a UFA. And I'll be honest, for some of these names, $20 million is not a lot. So my question is, how does... What's a good way to ask this? How does the team stick together with this number of rentals, we'll say?
I don't think you worry about losing that many of those guys.
No?
If you can keep Montour, I think you're A-okay. Don't get me wrong, keeping Sam Reinhart would be great. The guy scored 57 goals and his career high is 35. That is not a guy that you can pay as a 57 goal scorer, which is, what he's going to want. So the question has to be like, is this a guy we can pay that money to? And I think the answer is, probably not. If he wants $11 million, which he could probably get on the right team,
Toronto.
you let him walk. Goodbye. It was really nice having you. Thanks for the cup. Because I mean, that's just not a number you can pay. So if you rule that out, how many of those guys are you really going to miss? You can go out and replace a ton of those guys. So I'm not that worried. I think Montour is the loss that would hurt the most. But even him, like, I think you could survive. You'd rather not, but I think you could.
Mm-hmm.
I think Florida's going to be okay, but I mean, they're going to have a lot of change, especially on their depth.
Mm.
But I think that's also just one of those things you have to accept to a certain extent. Also, friendly reminder: the Sabres traded Montour to Florida for a third-round pick. That's a real trade that happened,
It's a real trade that happened.
and it is so not good.
Ooh. Yeah, I can see that here now. That is oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of former Sabres on this team. They really like their Buffalo Sabres, and for some reason, it's working.
Yeah. I don't know that there's much more to cover now with the cup final.
I mean, I think you got to talk about McDavid and Draisaitl a little.
A little bit more.
A little bit more, like not in terms of their performance, but like where they're at. I mean, we got to talk about the Conn Smythe.
Mm-hmm.
Connor McDavid wins it almost unanimously. One vote for first place went to Bobrovsky, and that was the difference. And a lot of people are upset around this because he did not come out to accept the award. I don't know if you saw any of this rumbling on Twitter,
No, I
but
didn't.
people are very unhappy that he didn't come out to accept the award. They thought he was a sore loser. I think you're all very dumb. Respectfully, I think that's a nonsense take. Guys, McDavid is a captain who was in his locker room after the hardest loss of his entire life with his team. He does not care about that award.
Yeah, that was the sentiment I figured many people
Like,
are probably going with as well.
yeah, I get that Jaguar came out and claimed the award when he did it back in 03 on the losing side. If you look at the photos, he's miserable. He doesn't want to be there. The guy would like to be anywhere else in the world other than holding that trophy. And he doesn't have a C on his chest. Like, it's such a silly thing. McDavid 100% deserved the Conn Smythe in my mind. I think you could have given it to Bob, and I would have been like, all right, fine, winning team bias. McDavid was the most valuable player of the playoffs,
Hmm.
and it's not particularly close. One of the things that also is funny about looking at the full voting list here is Jim Matheson. He's an Oilers reporter.
Mm-hmm.
He got to vote on the Conn Smythe. Do you know which Florida Panthers that Jim Matheson voted for?
Let me have a look at their roster. We'll say Forsling.
He voted for none.
He voted for none.
Jim Matheson voted 3 Edmonton Oilers for his Conn Smythe ballot,
Ah,
which is interesting. It's McDavid, Hyman, Bouchard, which I mean, 3 good players. I can't
yeah.
really argue with any of their validity. Not even Bobrovsky third.
No.
You couldn't even give us Bobrovsky third. Come on, man. It's it's one of those things I kind of look through the ballots and I kind of agree with everything that's there. The only thing I would say is Verhaeghe could have used a few more votes. He only had 2 third-place votes. That's Jordan McPherson and Jonathan Bernier. Not that Jonathan Bernier, to be clear. Oh, I didn't even know Stuart Skinner got a vote. Stuart Skinner got a vote?
Okay.
Mark Spector, what are you? Okay, I'm gonna look away from that now because that's the wrong decision, Mark. Mark, you're wrong. He was great in games 4 through 6. Don't get me. He was great in game 7 too. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's not. No, please stop. But yeah, I don't see what the drama is, guys. McDavid's a captain. He's there being for his team as a captain should. He doesn't want to be out there claiming the award. Don't make us think of it, guys. It's not. It's a nothing story.
Yeah.
It might have been a little weird to watch on TV. I'll grant you that. If you're like, wow, that felt weird, him not being there. All right, cool. I can accept that. But if you're giving him crap and calling him a sore loser or something, which I've seen a lot of, that's just not the case. He's being a good teammate and a good captain, and that is significantly more important.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that McDavid would give any water, or many people would give any water to that anyhow. It's just, the outrage on social media or what have you, right? Like I think hockey players especially know is like if you take a tough loss in a game 7 where it could have gone either way, um nothing anyone says holds any water while you're sort of um grieving what could have been.
Yeah, he's not gonna smile for that picture of the Conn Smythe. It's not gonna happen, guys.
No.
I mean, that guy can barely smile when he's just taking a normal picture. Seriously, that guy does not photograph at all.
No.
And now he's mad. It wouldn't have been a pretty picture, guys. It doesn't matter. Just leave it. I will also say, on a very unrelated side tangent, this is the first team since the Capitals to win the Cup with no Leafs who played games for the Leafs being on the team. I don't know what you should do with that stat. There are 2 ex-Leafs on the team, but neither of them played for the Leafs.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that for my Leafs fans out there. You guys don't have to look at any ex-Leafs winning the Cup.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Just remember that you had Evan Rodriguez and released him instead of qualifying him.
Oh, we know someone out there will be happy with that stat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or we'll get hateful messages, one of the two.
Hey, that's fine. We'll take them. Any engagement is good engagement, right?
No.
Maybe.
No, we've had this conversation. That's not true.
I think it is.
This is the guy we put in charge of the social media.
Sure is.
Oh, brother.
Anyway.
Speaking of oh, brother. We're recording this on June 25th. The Stanley Cup Finals ended yesterday. Those 2 statements should not be allowed to exist together. What is with the scheduling for this series? It's brutal.
Yeah.
This series should have been over a week ago. It really should have been. And the reason I bring it up is not to criticize that, because that's been done to death. People have already said their pieces on it, and honestly, people that know a little bit more than me about how that stuff gets done. Why that matters is because NHL teams got tired of waiting for it to end and decided to shake up the entire league in the middle of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah. that I will say, that piece of news, which we will probably talk about in momentarily, that came out before Game 7, was certainly an interesting one.
So we do have to run through these moves. They're too big for us not to.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like we got to start with the oldest of the major pieces of news, Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah.
I'm sure this one's old news. If it's not, what have you been doing?
Well, it's not old news to us. We're clearly the first people to talk about it.
We are noted to be always timely with how we deliver information.
Exactly.
And I can't even finish this. I can't even finish the joke. We're terrible. We're 4 episodes in and we're terrible. We skipped an entire round. Basically skipped 2.
Growing pains. It's fine.
But Pierre-Luc Dubois, if you didn't see it, is a member of the Washington Capitals. It's for Darcy Kemper, 1 for 1. Cool. At least on LA's end, like for Washington, I get it. You know, you bring in a guy who's got some pretty high upside. I actually really like the idea of like Ovechkin trying to whip that guy back into shape in terms of trying. I think that's actually a good fit. I think he'll be decent. Even when he's not playing, he's putting up 40 points, and your team's not that good, so the salary cap isn't holding you back from competing.
Mm-hmm.
And if he performs at a high level, great, you've got him back. You've got the guy that he can be. So I don't mind it for Washington. For LA, this saga has been so bad.
Mm.
And you get Darcy Kemper for it, who, you know, has been good in the past. It's a Stanley Cup champion, to be entirely fair. But like if you look at the asset list that has gone out the door, it's not pretty.
No.
And now you've got a goalie wrong side of 30 who you're hoping rebounds from a terrible year, and you're paying him for like 3 more years. And that's the better option for you. I can't say I get the goaltending's bad. I get it's bad. I can't say I get this deal.
No. It's also as well, I think, worth mentioning some possible controversy. I don't know that it was that the one of the reasons, this is purely speculation. One of the reasons that the trade happened was because like before the was it a no movement clause or a modified no trade clause?
I can't remember. I think it was a full no trade.
Okay, yeah, there's something talked about, and they traded before that clause kicked into effect because he wasn't a rental, but before that whatever clause it was could have kicked in, he was traded to Washington
I don't think that's
first.
controversy. Teams will do that fairly often.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's much controversy, if any. But I think it's maybe worth mentioning because I wonder how PLD does feel about that.
I think that was known. I think when you're negotiating that contract and the protection doesn't kick in until year 2, that's a hey, you have a year to show us you can play hockey or we can do whatever we have to do clause.
Mm-hmm.
I think he knew that was a distinct possibility. I don't think that caught him that off guard.
Okay.
Maybe the fact that the trade actually happened
Yeah.
might have been a bit of a surprise because, it's one of those things you never really expect to get dealt type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when they signed that contract, they knew exactly what they were signing.
Fair.
But I mean, that's what people wanted at least to do with Marner a couple years back, was deal him before his no trade clause kicked in, and all of a sudden, now here we are, with some people saying there's an extension imminent, and some people saying they'll never extend him, and clearly no one knowing what on earth is happening.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think this deal, we'll see. Dubois might try, he might not.
Mm-hmm.
Kemper's a coin flip. Whatever happens, happens. The Kings are just happy not to be paying the guy for the next 7 years. And again, like, while I don't mind this trade in a vacuum, we remember all that they gave to Winnipeg for him.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
Pierre-Luc Dubois has caused maybe a ripple or two in the Kings organization. Um, pun. I saw this. I'm stealing it. Pun very much intended. King's ransom. Winnipeg got back for dealing Pierre-Luc Dubois, especially like as depth players that showed up when needed for Winnipeg. At least in the regular season, we won't really talk about their playoffs. Winnipeg's at least.
Listen, if your series comes down to Rasmus Kupari, good luck. And that's not Rasmus's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that really summarizes the deal as a whole.
Yeah.
Will Pierre-Luc Dubois try? I don't know.
We'll see.
Because if he doesn't, the Capitals might be in a whole lot of trouble.
You never know. He seemed to play just fine at World Men's for Team Canada. He seemed to play fine.
Yeah, but he also wasn't that good.
Yeah.
He tried, but I mean, he was also not a great player. There were some weird roster decisions. I can't believe he was on that team.
Hmm.
And to see Celebrini let go, like that surprised me at the time. I remember being very caught off guard.
And I guess the other trade notable to talk about, uh, goalie hugs are seemingly no more in Boston because Linus Ullmark got traded to the Ottawa Senators. Oh boy, I mean, you got to sort of feel for Swayman. I mean, just because you could clearly tell that those two loved each other, and if you plays a tandem for the whole season, 40, and then whatever the difference is, you got to feel for him. So the Bruins get Eunice Korpisalo, Kastelik, and this year's first round pick, so number 25 overall, for trading Ullmark. I think, well, Ullmark clearly knew that the writing was on the wall that Swayman was going to be their number one, hence the reason he nearly got traded at the deadline, but he nixed the deal himself. So it was clear to Allmark that he was getting dealt one place or another, and it goes to Ottawa. Okay.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah. Um. Let's see. Boston getting Corpusalo. Castellic, I think, is an interesting choice. I don't. Yeah, he's young enough. I guess I really don't have much to say about Castellic. Corpusalo, I don't know that he played a fantastic game in Ottawa.
Oh, he didn't.
Yeah, granted,
We, we
this is
know.
also Ottawa. um, Yikes. Okay, I mean, hey, if Allmark plays well, I mean that's clearly what Ottawa's betting on. That Allmark's going to continue playing fairly well. Do I think Ottawa is going to compete? Realistically, no. I'd like to be proven wrong, but I, you know, as well, for this year's first round pick, not even next year's or the year after, 2024's first round pick for number 25 overall that Boston now has. I'm not. Well, they clearly moved up, but I'm not sure by how much. Um, Unless they didn't have a first round pick.
I don't think they had one.
Did they not? Okay, that would make more sense for that. Did Boston have a first rounder? No, they did not. They had a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. They did not have a first round. Okay, so clearly Montgomery trying and Sweeney trying to get, you know, a solid player. I mean, anyone that goes in the first has clearly worked their way there.
Tell it to the Raiders in the NFL.
Hmm.
Those draft guys who are like third round picks will be like, yeah, all right, here you go, fifth overall. I'm talking directly to Cleveland Farrell on that one. Half of the NFL fans are like, I don't even know who that is, and that's my point. That guy was a top 10 pick.
I was gonna say, I'm sure he's listening and is very.
Yeah, I'm sure he's listening. If you're listening to me, Mr. Farrell, you know I'm right. It's not your fault, man. I'm not blaming you.
Yeah.
But you know I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah, so Boston trying to grab a first rounder that hopefully round out a functional team. I hesitate to call them great. They did make the playoffs, which is something.
They went around.
Yeah.
This is a weird deal. Because half the thought was like you trade away Allmark and you get cap relief. Well, that's kind of not true anymore. Corpusalo makes $4 million. They're retaining 25%, so he's going to make $3 million a season until 2028. Corpusalo, to justify that number, has a save percentage in about half the seasons that he's played, a save percentage over 900. There is no consistency in this guy's game.
Hmm.
And we're kind of moving to an NHL where you can't have one goalie do the work. We're starting to see these tandems build up.
Yeah.
Obviously, Boston had a little bit too much of that. But, like, I don't understand why Corpusalo was the guy here. Could you not have gotten a first without taking on this deal? Or do you really believe in this player? Because I do find that a little hard to believe,
Mm-hmm.
but, like, maybe. But, you get $2 million, you get a first round pick. I don't think there's much of cast look. He's a guy who kind of plays a Bruin-like style from the little bit that I know about him, but I honestly am not that familiar with this game. It's it's fine, I guess, but my fundamental thing will always be, why did Corpusalo need to be a part of this deal?
Mm-hmm.
Because I just don't see it. The guy makes too much money for too much term. You're telling me that LA, who tried to trade for him before, like, he was willing to go to Ottawa, but not LA. That seems a little weird to me. Could LA not have come back in the offseason and be like, hey, like, you're getting traded, like, let's get this done? Could there not have been more there? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Allmark had a decent amount of control on how this plays out.
Yeah.
The other part of this that's weird, because I mean, listen, Ottawa, you paid a first round pick and dumped a bad contract. Great job. You have to sign Allmark. He has 1 year left. And that's not gonna be cheap.
No. And I mean,
So,
Allmark's cap hit's sitting at $5 million. Anyhow.
and that's going up.
Oh, big time.
I mean, they're taking a bet that they can impress this player enough that he will sign. And you know what? He was willing to go there. So clearly they're off to a decent start.
Mm-hmm.
But the bet has to be here fundamentally that we're going to be a good enough team that Allmark will want to sign with us. And then you get to give 6 or 7 years to a 31-year-old goaltender. And that's your reward. So I'm a little sketched out on that part. For the people that are saying he's going to regress outside of Boston, I don't actually think I agree with that because his numbers with the Buffalo Sabres were good. And need I remind you, they're the Buffalo Sabres. So, and not this Buffalo Sabres. We're talking the, like, Jack Eichel, like, getting Jack Eichel in those first couple of years of Jack Eichel, Buffalo Sabres. Those teams were horrific. So, I mean, he's going to be in a better situation there than he was in Buffalo. There's no reason he should have a major regression.
No.
I know he put up like a 940 or something stupid in 2023. Like, obviously he's not doing that in Ottawa, but I mean, Corpusalo had an 890 save percentage, and that was like the best on the team. So there's no shot on this earth that Allmark should give you less than 900. It should be an upgrade, but you gotta get them locked up, or it comes real hard to swallow as a team that's not really in a window where they're competing for a cup.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Bruins, I think they 1,000% wanted a first round pick, and I know that they clearly gave it up at some point. So I think the Bruins made out fairly well, I'll say, just for the first round pick. Because like I said, their first pick this year's draft is fourth round, and I think Boston is maybe starting to see that they need to get some more prospects. Um, I think Ottawa. I don't know that they're necessarily swimming in prospects. I think they're doing okay. Yeah, so they pick first, second, and then 3 and 4 in round 4, 1 and 5, and then None left. Yeah, I don't think that they're swimming in fantastic prospects. Yeah, I mean, if Allmark is willing to go there, um, I think he'll do fine. Like you said, I think it'll be an upgrade still, no matter what. I wonder if Boston are taking the chance to see if they can whip Corpusalo into shape, because if it's clear that they do some sort of conditioning. They're the Boston Bruins. They play very physical hockey. I That doesn't necessarily translate to the goaltender, but you know, I think it's interesting.
If that's what they're betting on, I think they're going up the wrong tree. Because, I mean, it's not like the guy's lazy. He's just inconsistent. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where at the end of it, it might look totally fine, and it might be, you worried for nothing. But half of this deal was to acquire cap space, and you got some, but not really as much as you could have. Again, excess good. I get it. You got a first round pick for a guy who, doesn't do you. He does you a little bit of good, but not enough good to justify. Like, fine, I get it. But, like, would have loved to have some cap to work with.
They got a whole $1 million now, extra.
I think it would be $2 million because there's $1 million retained too.
Yeah. Okay. $2 million extra. Go Bruins.
Something, kind of.
Hey, that's like a if they do want to sign a UFA, that's young. That's fine. That'll cover them.
You can get a good third line guy if you use it right.
But I feel like Boston may be in need of a couple of first and second line guys.
Could you imagine? Hear me out. It's obviously too late for this. Boston calls LA. Mark's willing to go to LA now for this. I have wondered if he just wasn't willing to go because it was middle of the season and he didn't want to leave in the middle of the year.
Yeah, I saw that discourse as well.
I have no reason to think that. I just don't know why he would accept Ottawa but not LA. Even like Nottingham was like, wow, LA is a great city or whatever. Like, it's the Senators. I mean, the Kings are a first round playoff exit every year, but it's the Senators.
Yeah.
But assuming that he's willing to go, you call him up and you go, hey, give us Pierre-Luc Dubois, a first and a second, and like a prospect or something, and we'll give you Allmark. I don't think it would have ever happened. I don't think they would ever do it.
No.
But you want a player that Boston can whip into shape?
Oh yeah, PLD.
And you need a center. Him and Zaka are actually a gross little 1-2. Not the highest talent in the league, but in terms of the way they play, that's not fun to go up against.
Oh no,
I'm just saying,
like
it would have been funny. And it could have actually done some real good for both sides.
Yeah.
Imagine you're LA, and instead of having question mark Darcy Kemper, you have Linus Allmark and net. I'm just saying.
He can steal a game or two.
I mean, he didn't in these playoffs, but he can't.
Yeah.
There was one other trade I wanted to talk about, unless you have something you want to add on this one.
No, go for it.
The other trade I want to talk about is Jake Wallman.
I did see that.
This is a weird one. Jake Wallman, most known for consistently hitting the on-ice gritty, has been traded along with a second-round pick in the mid-50s to the San Jose Sharks for a cool, crisp high five.
Yeah.
And nothing else. I don't get it, guys.
No.
I'm going to be so real with you. I don't get it. I don't get it. And, it's one of those things where, like, I kind of went to see if Detroit fans had turned on the guy and they were all kind of like, he had a bit of a rough year, but they didn't, deploy him very well. Kind of not his fault.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with the cap dump, although when you have Ben Sherratt and Justin Hall in your team, I question why this is the first guy you go with.
Yeah.
There is no way you should have had to pay a team a second round pick for this. There's just no way. Like, he's a defenseman who's good for 20 points in a year. He's a pretty good locker room guy, it would seem. Like, it seems like the guys love him. He's goofy, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. There's such a weird thing with Steve Yzerman where half his trades, you're like, I see the vision. And then the other half, you realize you're actually staring directly into the sun.
Yeah.
And the vision is actually just the spots that you get when you look at like a bright light for too long.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the strangest trades I've ever seen. And all I'm going to say is this. Jake Gensel better be a Detroit Red Wing. That has to be it.
How do you
Jake
think?
Gensel, you cannot justify this trade with anyone else on the free agent market. Jake Gensel had better sign to the Red Wings, or you better go out and offer sheet somebody or do something goofy. There's no other option. You have to go big on this. You can't go out and sign a middle six center and like a third line winger and be like, that's what we did with the money, guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good enough. That doesn't explain the second round pick. And also, why not Justin Hall? Is he like more unmovable? Like, because if it's that, like, I guess I get it, sort of thing. But I mean, the guy makes similar on the contract. Like, it's weird. I'm gonna give a little benefit of the doubt. But if we come back a month from now and the Detroit Red Wings have not added any player of significant value, this is a disaster. This is an unmitigated, absolute tire fire disaster. Giving him up for free, I think you'd lose the trade. But you threw in a 56th overall pick, I want to say, without having it in front of me right now. Just, I don't understand it, man.
53rd overall pick.
53rd, oh my goodness. Oh, I don't understand this trade. I'm also not gonna. They also made another trade today. They made a prospect trade with the Predators. I'm not familiar enough with anyone involved to talk about it.
Yeah.
It did happen. Is what you need to know. I'll pull up the details, read them out to you quick because this one kind of did go under the radar a little bit. I found, but I also am not going to have very much insight to provide you on this one because prospects are prospects. So it's a second round pick and Jesse Kiskinen in exchange for Andrew Gibson is the prospect deal that went down. Gibson's a second round pick. I don't know an incredible amount about him here. I'll see if I can pull up a CB page, but I have seen some people really praising him. I know he is a right-handed defenseman, and you know how people feel about their right shot defensemen. They love them so very much. Second round pick by the Red Wings, 42nd overall, 44 points in 68 games for the Sioux Greyhound this year.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
For a defenseman, too.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's 19 years old, too, so he's not even an overager. Kiskinen's a third rounder. He's playing in Liga right now for the Pelicans, 10 points in 36 games. His name I'm a little more familiar with. I think he could be a decent little bottom six forward, but I don't really have a whole lot of expectation for him beyond that.
No.
Honestly, I bet you, like, this is one of those, Nashville and Detroit fans probably have more to say on it than I will.
Yeah.
But it was significant enough, I felt like throwing it out was going to be the move.
Yeah, that's fair. Not unless, some sort of crazy blockbuster trade happens as we're recording, which let's hope not.
Don't say that.
I'm gonna double check.
Yeah, you said something that I don't like.
Yeah. We seem to be fine.
I think we're
seem to be fine. Let's just double check. Did you verify? Verify. Okay.
A lot of stuff with the Blue Jays losing. That's a lot on my feed.
Yeah. Resign. No. Okay. And we were talking sort of on the off air about another thing that is worth bringing up, and I've seen now official confirmation. Uh, Coyotes owner Alex Murillo told remaining executives that he's dissolving what's left of the franchise within a month. Yote's name, logo, and rights to the Phoenix Arena will be returned to the NHL. He will keep Tucson Roadrunners in the AHL, then move them to Reno, Nevada, upon completion of a new 10,000 plus seat arena.
I do not know if I can think of a worse hockey owner in the 21st century than Alex Morello.
Oh no, I agree.
And there's been some bad ones. There's been some bad ones. Ooh, there's some bad ones. This guy came in with the promise that hockey was going to remain in Arizona. And you know what? I'm not going to blame him that it didn't work. I'm really not. I think it was a little, he kind of came into a complicated issue. I'm not sure they got a guy who was capable of handling the issue, and I only half blame him for that.
Mhm.
That being said, the absolute quick, sudden turn and betrayal that Murillo performed on the Coyotes and on the Roadrunners, who
Mhm.
only a couple days ago just had a vote to stay in Tucson for the upcoming season. Like, that wasn't even a certainty.
Yeah.
To demolish hockey in the desert like this, I think, is one of the biggest crimes we've ever seen. Because listen, you can tell me that an NHL team doesn't work. You can tell me that. You can look me in the eyes and you can say that. And firstly, I'll say, I'm a little unsure still, because this team sucks. This team's garbage. They didn't get a fair chance. Coyotes fans didn't get anything to get attached to. Let's be honest here. But like, if you want to ignore that and be like, well, they made the third round once, cool, okay. If you want to look past all that, all right, an NHL team doesn't work in Arizona. Sure, let's say that for a minute. I still don't know if I agree, but let's say it. Not an AHL team. You don't think they're worthy of some hockey team?
Mm.
You're not looking at the Matthews and the Matthew Nyes. I should have said Austin Matthews. The double Matthew really threw me off. You're not looking at all these guys coming up from Arizona who are kind of at the age that they would have grown up watching them and going, huh, isn't that weird?
Mm.
What made that happen? That alone is worth the investment that they deserve a professional hockey team. Like, come on.
Mm.
All right, NHL's not viable. They don't have an arena. Fine. Like, it's a joke. And this whole situation ended because Morello was trying to bid for the land, which is a part of the deal, right? He had 5 years to secure the land for the arena.
Mhm.
And he was the only suitor for the auction. I don't know if you saw all this or not, but he was the only suitor for the auction. And the people that owned the land just went, okay, we're not doing an auction anymore. And they just canned it. Basically said, like, we need to find a better way to do this. Like, the auction doesn't work. And that's, I get it. I don't know if I'm going to call it fair or unfair. I don't think I know enough to.
Yeah.
But, like, I get it. If there's one person bidding for an auction, like, that's a waste of your time. I understand. Part of the problem that has come out in the recent days is essentially they had agreed that a hockey rink could be built there, him and the Morello and the owners,
Mhm.
but they did not discuss what size and type of rink.
Yeah.
Morello was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna build it like an NHL rink," and they're like, "What do you mean? How do you fail at that basic line of communication? How is that the conversation we're having here?"
I mean, I'm happy to see it go back to the NHL so that hopefully they can get a better owner. Um, I'll say it. I'm an Arizona faithful. I enjoy watching them. You know, as you said, they're not good, but you know, I don't know. I enjoy watching them. Like it's almost like it's a concept that people are thinking no, never gonna work, never gonna work, never work, and then it does. They're not contenders, no, but they're playing. They're playing in also a very tightly contested division too. At least they did. In the Pacific. Um, I enjoy like I think what maybe changed the dial was seeing Josh Doan start playing with them. just, Shane Doan, Yotes legend, had his banner retired. I think probably the only person who's ever had the banner retired in Coyotes
Then they
history.
they threw his banner out.
And threw his banner out, and a fan
They
went and
threw
got it for him and gave it back to him in the locker room. Like it's just heartwarming to see that Arizona clearly has fans that want to see hockey. Um, I'm sure they're hungry for a competing team who isn't, but it's a start to even have a team in the first place. So yeah, I'm happy to see what comes of it. I hope that it's clearly they're clearly not going to get turned around for this upcoming season. I can't imagine that happening just because the relocation to Utah and what have you. Utah's a whole another subject as well. But I'd love to see Arizona come back again and hopefully be good.
The other thing I'll say on this is this stuff takes time. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to look at it and go, this is a new market. There's not a lot. The infrastructure isn't built to support it the way like Vegas was, for example.
Yeah.
Like Vegas, obviously very new hockey market, also desert, but everything about Vegas lent itself to it. And to the NHL's credit, they got there early.
Hmm.
They beat the Raiders there. They're beating whatever the Athletics become. I don't really know what's happening there. They were the first there. They were boots in the ground. Like there was clearly something that lent itself to that, where
Mhm.
you're like, all right, here's why this worked. The Coyotes didn't have that, and you came in and you gave them just a garbage team, just terrible, awful, no good, very bad for a long period of time, and you're good a couple times because eventually at some point you have to be good by accident,
Mhm.
and you start seeing the seeds, man. Like that's my thing. We were finally at a point where we were seeing the results of this market become fruitful. You want to grow the game. You're growing the game by having that team exist there.
Yeah.
And again, Matthew Nyes, Austin Matthews, all those guys, those are the proof. That's the proof right there. Josh Stone, that's the proof right there. And you've gone, all right, well, that growth was enough. We're good. Like, do you think, I shouldn't even say that. There are two types of fan bases when their city leaves. There are those who go, ah, shucks, and they just find something else. And there are those who become hateful.
Mm.
The St. Louis Rams, ooh, St. Louis is mad about that one. Ooh, they're still mad about that one, and they're gonna be for a long time. Other fan bases go, you know what it is, what it is. I don't really know which one Arizona's gonna be.
I feel like it's either going to be half and half or more. Oh, oh well. I think it's going to be more half and half because it's clearly shown that fans are passionate enough in the desert. Um.
Well, and it's one of those things too. Like that passion sometimes is weaponized
Oh
against
yeah.
somebody. I'm just so disappointed. I know the Coyotes didn't have the biggest fan base, but every time I interacted with a Coyotes fan, it was splendid.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. They're a great group of guys. They really are. Great fan base. Always fun to chat with. Know exactly what they are and lean into it hard.
Yeah.
And it finally gets on the ice. It's finally getting to a point where they got guys. This isn't the era where you're like, all right, first line center Martin Hansel, let's go.
Yeah.
This is a team that's finally starting to do things the right way, and away they go. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. I get why the Roadrunners have to move. Utah having an AHL team in Arizona, not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I hope someone smart comes in and swoops it up.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the Professional Women's Hockey League should do it because I think it's a little early for them to do expansion. But if their success continues and they're expanding like 10 years from now, That is a market that I think would absolutely demolish. I think that market would go crazy, especially because, as you know, compared to the NHL, there would be probably a smaller arena.
Mhm.
Because again, the casual fan in Arizona is not there yet. I'm just saying, PWHL Arizona, 10 years from now, or PWHL Phoenix. I don't care which one. I'm not picky. Phoenix sounds cooler, but whatever. Put hockey back in the desert. Even if it's not NHL, it belongs there.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the Hall of Famers and wrap it up?
Yeah, I think I don't think let's dwell on the Hockey Hall of Fame class of 2024 too much, but definitely worth mentioning. Pavel Datsuk, about time.
Jeremy Roenick, about time.
Jeremy Roenick, about time. Shea Weber, about time.
No, Jay Weber's only just eligible.
Yeah.
I mean, guy's still under contract, for goodness sake.
Is he?
Oh yeah, he's on Utah's roster. He just can't play.
Oh, I didn't realize he was with Utah.
He's got like 2 years left. Yeah, he went to Utah. He went from Montreal to Vegas.
I remember him on Vegas.
To Dadanov. He never played there, and then he went to Vegas to Montreal for something. I don't remember what that deal was.
Okay.
But yeah, he is on Utah.
Jay Weber. Let's have a look. See. Trade history.
Dyson Mayo, obviously.
Of course.
How?
Who?
With a 5th-round pick. Dyson Mayo. That's a veteran of 82 games.
A whole season. Wow. Compared to Shea Weber's how many?
I don't feel like I want to answer that question. I don't think I want to answer that question, if I can be open and honest with you.
No, that's fair.
But Weber, I'm surprised he got in this early. I'm not totally against it.
Mhm.
But I am a little surprised. On the female side, it's Natalie Darwitz and Christy Wendell-Pohl. It's always interesting because the amount of conversation where people are like, who is that?
Yeah.
And like, again, it's also one of those things of how disorganized professional women's hockey has been to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And now people are actually going back and learning about these players retroactively, which I think is very cool.
Oh, definitely.
Dave Poirier and Colin Campbell are in as the builders, which I think David Poirier being in there is interesting, but very much deserved. However, if you remember correctly, there was a scandal involving Colin Campbell where he basically called out Mark Savard as a diver while being among the head people around the referees association, which isn't a great look.
Nope.
But I don't know, people forgot about that. It was too long ago, I guess.
I guess so.
There's one thing I would like to say about this Hall of Fame class,
Mhm.
and I'm not the first person to say this, and I'm not the last person to say this. Alex McGillney,
Yep, I see a lot
not being in the Hall of Fame, is one of the greatest jokes in professional hockey right now. It's a joke. It should not be. And the fact that it is the case permanently, in my mind, damages the reputation of the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying. It's a joke. I don't know if there's much more to that. Not many guys changed the fabric of the game like he did, and he had over 1,000 points in less than 1,000 games. Scored 473 goals. That guy should be in the Hall of Fame. Every single year you wait makes it more of a joke. Put him in the Hall of Fame. I beg of you on my hands and knees, please make the Hall of Fame matter again. That's my rant. If you disagree with me, you are incorrect.
If you disagree with him, you can follow us on Twitter and let your voice be heard. I'm sure he'll see it.
Oh, I'll see it.
Yeah, you'll see it.
If you want to be wrong on social media, go right here, because it's going to be digitally inputted where my hands are.
Clearly.
Probably. I don't do the editing. I don't actually know that for sure, but I'm putting faith. and my
Okay.
good friend Liam.
Okay.
Oh, I
That's
didn't
a
like the way you
choice.
said that. That didn't fill me with confidence.
Yeah, that's a choice. Uh,
I did this last time. The worst part is I haven't gone back to see what you did.
oh, good.
Because I know I did this in one of the first 3 episodes. I don't remember which one, and I don't know what you did.
I
I
tried.
haven't looked.
I tried. I tried.
I don't know if that comforts me.
Okay, well then.
This is not really a try thing. It's a word.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh
Well, what? Do you not take me at my word?
no,
Okay, that's
not even
fine.
a little bit.
That's fine. That's fine.
That giggle is exactly why I don't take you at your word. I feel justified.
That's fair. And with that, I think we will call it another episode. Thank you so much for watching or listening, whichever one you happen to do, or both. I have been Liam Green,
And I'm Ryan Balsford.
and we will catch you next time. Goodbye, everyone.